Who's actually going to get the most out of this guitar? Who can safely walk away? And does the price make sense for someone who just wants a solid, everyday workhorse? That's the question I asked myself before I even unboxed the Ibanez LGB30 George Benson signature. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. My hesitation started with the fact that it's a Hollowbody electric. Those instruments can be temperamental in high-gain settings, and they tend to be a little heavier than a standard solid body. I wanted to know if the trade-offs would matter for a gigging player who needs reliable feedback control, or if the tone-shaping benefits would outweigh the quirks for a bedroom musician chasing that warm, jazz-friendly sound. Let's start with the kind of player who'll actually feel at home with this model. If you spend a lot of time in jazz clubs, neo-soul lounges, or acoustic-leaning singer-songwriter sets, the LGB30's hollow construction with a spruce top gives you that airy, resonant character that flat-picking a solid body just can't deliver. The two humbucking pickups are wound to complement the acoustic vibe while still packing enough punch for clean to moderate overdrive. In my own test, I ran a clean amp setting through a small PA system, and the guitar sang with a natural sparkle on the high strings while the lows stayed rounded and articulate. That's the sweet spot for anyone who wants a tone that sits nicely in a mix without drowning out the rest of the band. On the flip side, if you're a heavy metal shredder who lives for saturated distortion and tight, aggressive attack, the LGB30 might not be the best match. Hollowbody guitars can be prone to feedback when you crank up the gain, and the spruce top can respond with a bit of wah that feels more like an unwanted resonance than a controlled sustain. I tried a high-gain setting in a small rehearsal room, and the feedback popped up quickly when I hit a few high notes. It's not a deal-breaker if you're willing to dial back the gain or use a noise gate, but for a player who needs that tight, low-end focus 24-hour-a-day, a solid body would be a safer bet. Now, let's talk about the practical side of owning this guitar day-to-day. The flamed maple back and sides aren't just a visual flourish, they add a subtle brightness to the overall tonal palette. When you're playing a clean chord progression in a coffee shop, that extra sheen makes the instrument cut through the ambient noise without sounding harsh. The bound ebony fingerboard feels smooth under the fingertips, and the ebony's natural density gives the notes a clear definition that's especially helpful for fast, intricate chord voicings. I found that the neck profile is comfortable for both players with smaller hands and those who like a bit more grip when bending strings, so the learning curve on ergonomics is pretty flat. One of the hidden trade-offs comes from the weight. The combination of spruce, maple, and the hollow cavity adds up to a guitar that feels a tad heavier than a typical Les Paul-style solid body. After a 3-hour gig, my shoulders were definitely more sore than after playing a lighter Strat-type. That's not a huge issue if you're okay with a bit of extra heft, but it's something to keep in mind if you have to transport the instrument frequently, especially on your own. The case that comes with the LGB30 is sturdy enough for road use, though you'll likely want a dedicated gig bag with extra padding if you're constantly hopping on a plane or a cramped bus. Another practical concern is the pickup configuration. Two humbuckers in a hollowbody give you a balanced, warm sound, but you lose the tonal variety you'd get from a 3-pickup setup that includes a single coil. If you love swapping between bright, twangy single-coil tones for funk or surf-style riffs, you'll be missing that option here. That said, the humbuckers are voiced to retain clarity even when you roll back the volume, so you still get a decent range from clean jazz to a modest blues overdrive without sounding muddy. For most players who stick to a core set of styles, the 2-pickup layout simplifies decision-making on stage. The overall reception from the community, reflected in a 4.2-star average from over 600 reviewers, suggests that most owners feel they got good value for the price. The main praises revolve around the guitar's natural resonance and the aesthetic appeal of the flamed maple. People love the way it looks under stage lights. A few reviewers note the same feedback concerns I mentioned, especially when pairing the instrument with high-gain amps. That consensus gives us a clearer picture. The LGB30 shines when you stay within its sweet spot, clean to mildly overdriven tones, genres that benefit from acoustic-like warmth, and setups where feedback isn't a constant battle. If you're a beginner who wants an instrument that can grow with you, the LGB30 can serve as a bridge between a basic acoustic and a more specialized jazz guitar. Its versatility lets you experiment with fingerstyle, chord melody, and light.